don't depend on me for nothing.
Yeah, we know that.
Well, hello everyone. How are you? How are you enduring this viral blizzard? We were warned a few weeks ago. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals that you may soon overwhelm. And by gosh, son, when I saw that, I did not believe that it was real.
Till you caught that flu.
I thought, how dare you, White House? But man,
Joe wasn't playing.
he brought down the viral blizzard, son.
I seen this thing. There's this Instagram page called the Babylon Bee.
Oh yeah,
And satire.
They posted a picture of these two girls wearing masks, and they're about 6 foot away from this guy without a mask, and it said, "Unvaccinated man feeling left out as all his vaccinated friends have COVID."
I'm gonna tell you, man. I think. Well, I've thought about this. This is really what should have happened 2 winters ago. We should have just carried on about life, and I mean, a lot of people have the flu or the coronavirus right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of folks, at least that I know.
Well, it's flu season.
Yeah. I wonder, though, if the last 2 years, the fact that we have been incessantly cleaning and sanitizing and washing our hands and not going around each other, and just generally many people just not participating in life. And now everybody's finally gotten over this bull crap, and they're back to regular life.
You think so?
I wonder if that isn't why now everybody's getting sick, because their daggone immune system is just hadn't had to fight anything off for 2 years.
Well, I'm a little confused by that, because I haven't lived any different 1 second of this that wasn't forced upon me. But a lot of people have, and most of the people that have, are they doing something different now? Is that what you're saying?
No, he's saying everybody that went out and about were so germ aware that they've compromised their immune system because they got rid of so many germs that no longer was strong enough.
No, I know what he's saying, but
this is a complete theory, and it goes back to when me and Chili were doing the Altamaha River paddle, and for a week straight we didn't clean or sanitize anything, and we were eating, there's dirt in your food, and your hands are just filthy, and you're using the same spoon for 8 days straight. And Chili was like, well, this is what keeps you healthy, right?
Well, those things are different than viral stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you
that
have
is
viral
true. People
and
germs.
bacteria.
Only people we were around were you, me, and Brett.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I guess, like I say, my mind just wanders on people are getting hammered right now with all these little ailments.
Well, I still believe,
me included.
I still believe that's what keeps you healthy, though. What we were talking about, and what keeps you healthy is being exposed to people germs.
Yeah,
and fighting it off. But I guess I get what he's saying, but if I haven't done anything different this whole time, but most of the people that have, I thought were still doing their, staying away from people, not going to holidays and stuff. So they're not going to get sick because if they.
I think a lot of people have freed up.
Yeah, the whole.
Maybe they have. I don't know. I'm not keeping track.
The whole agenda behind the coronavirus has shifted significantly in the last week or two.
Listen, are we going to talk about something other than this dang coronavirus? It just pains me to even hear the word anymore.
Last Wednesday, we
Why are you tired of hearing about coronavirus, man?
Sick.
Last Wednesday should have been the last time we said anything.
I was reading my Bible this morning, and it was talking about the law and how all it does is shine light on your shortcomings and things that you can't do, but it doesn't do anything to fix it. And that's all we're doing here. We're just talking about the coronavirus, and we ain't doing nothing. We ain't talking about nothing. Just talk about something that's worthwhile. If you want to hear about the coronavirus, go listen to another episode we got. We've talked about it. I mean, we've drove that nail through the wall, and it's fell out on the ground on the other side of the wall.
Now we're just hitting our head with the hammer.
That's what I feel like. I'm just banging my head on the wall now.
Well, I mean, we did address this in the last podcast, talking about how much do you focus on this.
Well, I'm addressing it because you're in for a dang winter of sickness and death. Man, you got a few months left.
You know, this coronavirus has given a lot of content to people. What would people have talked about if this didn't never happen? We probably wouldn't have had but 80 episodes out right now.
Joe did say that he revised last week and said that he believes that there's a lot of hope for 2020.
2020? Is that what he said?
That's what he said.
That guy is
He got the whole year wrong?
I mean, unless he intends on going back 2 years and not locking down the country, I think he's just nuts.
He said that.
He said I just want to say even though all the unvaccinated are going to die in the streets and we're going to laugh at them, I have hope for 2020. That's what he says. I like a president that has hope.
For a year that's passed.
That joker is in bad shape, son. How much longer does he have? 2 more years?
I don't know if it's only been a year, hasn't it? Or has it been 2?
Maybe it has only been a year.
Yeah, it's only been a year, but how long does he have left?
I don't know if he's going to make it.
Well, I mean, he might not make it at all. He might expire because of his old age.
Yeah. I mean, the presidents are getting older and older now anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, there's your update on coronavirus. It's a viral blizzard out there. Stay at home.
It's nearly a literal blizzard out there.
There's your update. Stay at home.
Or if you just never stayed at home, none of this would have happened. And that don't mean you won't get sick, but
if you want a reason to stay at home, I have a reason for you. The flu. Do not get the flu.
Can we talk about the flu?
You know, I would consider. I've never had a flu vaccine in my life.
You're just like Dad. You just want to talk about sickness and being sick.
Well, I've been
just
sick.
Like
I've been sick for the last 3 weeks.
You need to go see Chardell.
Hey, I would actually consider getting a flu vaccine after I had the flu.
Not me.
Me neither.
That mess was brutal, son.
I heard it'll give it to you.
Oh yeah.
Well, I've never had it before, so I don't know.
He'll give it to you bigger than Dallas.
I'm generally just theorizing on things right now. Is what I'm doing.
Theologian.
Well, while we're on worldly topics, I just want to share with you guys your First Amendment in the Bill of Rights here. While we're on worldly topics, here we go. Congress. Did you know that Congress, for all you guys, Congress, let me read you the definition. I've got it right here because you hear the word Congress thrown around a lot, and we need to understand what it is. Congress is the legislative body of the United States comprised of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Note, for a bill to be passed and made law, it must be approved by a majority vote in both the House and Senate. All right, so that's the Congress, and then it must be approved by the president. If the president rejects a bill, the Senate and House can override him with 2/3 vote in favor, and the bill becomes a law. Additionally, the Senate and the House have different exclusive powers. For example, only the Senate can approve treaties, agreements to international laws, while only the House can initiate spending bills and move to impeach people holding governmental positions. So, the Congress, that gives you a little context on that, shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, semicolon, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, semicolon, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Is there any confusion around that there for you guys?
No, it's articulated pretty well.
I thought it was too. Freedom of, I think the one that stands out to most people in our first Bill of Rights or the First Amendment here is the freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Those are two extremely important aspects of society. So, abridging, what does it mean to abridge? To reduce or lessen in duration, extent, or range, authority, etc., to diminish. That's what the word abridge means. So Congress shall make no law that abridges the freedom of speech or of the press. And there's your lesson for today on your Bill of Rights. It's interesting to me how, obviously we have these, everybody knows, the big tech companies that are definitely abridging the freedom of speech of the individuals on Instagram or Facebook or whatever you use. But in a way, they're private companies.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they can do that. It's interesting because we all get so upset about Instagram abridging our freedom of speech when in all reality, really, where it gets gray is I think there is some governmental influence.
There's legislation too.
Is there really?
Yeah, the problem is, honestly, if they wanted to shut down speech as a private company, that's perfectly fine. Well, under the law, they're not exactly specifically treated as a private company. It gets muddy, and it's not fully there yet. I mean, there's Section 230 and all this.
That's on the dark web, ain't it?
They get a little bit, well, there's a big push for them to be viewed and treated as utilities to where they couldn't censor people like that. But the way they have it right now, and this is very not well spoken, but they have it almost the best of both worlds, where they have the benefits of being a private company, of where they can shut down speech, but then they also have the ability to be treated as like a utility almost, where it's a problem. You either have to be treated as one or the other, not get the best of both worlds, is what I'm trying to say. And that's why there's a lot of problems. But
well, the conflict in my mind is, do I want to participate or be a part of even a private company that chooses to abridge my freedom of speech, one of my God-given rights? I think that's where the conflict is for me. So, like, even if they have the authority to do that, it's just not against the law. The hard part is being a part of that, and social media is, I'm conflicted on it in many ways, because it's a great tool that can be used for good, and we have used it for good. We've seen that happen. So there's a valid reason to be there and to be a part of it. But it definitely rubs me the wrong way. The way, in terms of them abridging freedom of speech of people, So that's a tough conflict.
Yeah. I mean, it's not being done. I guess what you should be upset about is that it's being done I guess this is theory. I don't know if it's ever proven, but essentially indirectly by the government, right? I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That
I mean,
they have a big input. I mean, they have to. They have to have said, "Hey, I'm going to pay you this much, or do whatever this is, and I need you
tax break.
I need you to censor these things." And I mean, that's what I think. Either that, or the people who own it and run it are just really believe that way, and they doing it on. But there's no way that there's too much power there for them to just do it on. Because that's what they want to do and that's what they believe in. There would be too many opportunities for them to get perks for doing that, for them to be doing it freely. Well, I mean, I think
it's not a real easy answer. I mean, I would just like to see it basically be, you're treated as one or the other. Like they're either just a private company that can do whatever they want, and then I would disagree with what they're doing, but they have the right to do it.
Yeah.
Or they're treated as, an extension of the federal government, and social media is the new public square. Because there isn't an actual public square anymore. That's just how we all communicate, and that's just kind of how it happened. It just turned into that, where basically if you take away someone's social media, they sit there and feel like, well, I can't talk to nobody. I mean, I can't reach nobody. I can't do nothing. I mean, and in a way you can't, but.
You know what? The government should start a social media platform. A government-ran social media platform, so we wouldn't have to worry about our rights being infringed upon.
Yeah.
You don't think you'd have to worry about it?
The platform would be bound by our constitutional rights.
The freest platform you could be on.
Imagine how efficient if the government created a social media platform. Imagine how well it would work. Just even the nuts and bolts of it. I'm sure it would be very user friendly, very efficient, very fun and interactive, kind of like the VA.
Yeah,
the Veterans Affairs.
Yep,
it'd be kind of like that. The VA has an app. It's a great app. You can get all your health care there.
It's like the DDS too, right? Real efficient.
The DMV?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the DMV. Yeah.
Well.
Or the IRS.
Or the USPS.
Yeah.
Real good with getting everything on time. And
we found a solution, people. The United States government. We need to get them to create a social media platform for us to all exercise our free speech on.
Yep.
I think the last thing I want to say about the First Amendment is, did you know that it is your right to petition the government for a redress of grievances? What does redress mean? The setting right of what is wrong, often by giving something considered equal to the loss, injury, suffering, lack, etc. We can petition them to redress. In other words, pay you back for a wrong. A grievance is a wrong considered as a valid reason for complaint or something believed to cause pain, worry, or sorrow. Do you think we need to petition the government for a redress of a few grievances?
Sounds like you just want to sue them.
We could petition them for that thing they put out. That struck fear in me that I'm going to endure winter of death and severe illness.
Yeah. How about the hundreds of thousands of people that have died over the last 2 years because the government prevented any early treatment options that are legitimate and available for sick people? How about is that, boy, that's a pretty big grievance there.
How about we just petition them for releasing the coronavirus?
I don't know if they'd ever be able to. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why that's funny. Cause
well, that's what I'm saying. That's the end all be all.
What would be the redress for that?
I mean, that's the thing. There's no recourse for none of this. I mean, you have no. how are you gonna pay them back for releasing a bioweapon? You gonna shake your fist at them?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a whole lot more going on than what these three boys at 307 Project think and speculate. Our grandest imagination don't even scratch the surface about what's really going on.
Oh, we could have a podcast about that, but it may not be the time.
Well, you guys wanted to talk about trying to understand, I think, the word that we have for it is evil. Is that right? You guys wanted to try to have a little context around that?
Yeah, we can talk about
it. Isn't that what y'all were talking about? Mm-hmm. I don't want to step over y'all's topic there, but
we don't have to. It's just that is what all this is.
From what little understanding I have about this trial with this lady, I call her Gasoline Maxwell.
No.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you've never asked me about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Gasoline and her husband Diesel.
Look at her freaking name. It looks like Gasoline.
It's Ghislaine.
Well, I call her Gasoline.
There's not even an S in it.
Ghislaine.
Chili, brief us on that. Just give us a high level brief on that, because if we're gonna go into a conversation about what evil looks like, I think this is an example of evil that was being carried out.
Was
long term. Well, yeah, I guess still is in a long term, and literally one of the highest examples or forms of evil that humanity could execute on, and that is the basically using children for sex.
Well, it's the trafficking of the kidnapping / trafficking of children, the sexual assault, rape, murder of children. That's essentially this. I mean, it's almost impossible to even give a gestalt of what.
What's the deal with them essentially sealing?
Listen,
the file.
Okay.
That of intel that Gasoline had to offer on all the people who participated in this activity.
Gasoline's dad, Robert Maxwell, was intelligence. He was him and Gasoline have citizenship in, Israel, the United States, the UK. I don't even know what all. They're intelligence. Gasoline is as well. Her dad was very, very prominent figure. He was rich, but he was in, Mossad, MI6 intelligence. He got thrown off a boat. And killed one day. It's a wild story. He had a lot of kids. Some of them went into tech. Gasoline's sisters created a search engine called Magellan. You probably haven't heard of it, but I'm not going to be able to purvey all this information to people. You just got to figure it out. But she was tied up with so many people. And essentially, if you want to know some of the most powerful people in the world, it's not necessarily Gasoline and Jeffrey Epstein. Like, that's what people think from all this stuff. And I just introduced a new name. I'll get to that later. It's these billionaires and these people that you have never heard of. And some people are going, they're going to think I'm just a freaking kook. Like, George Soros funds, he's a billionaire. He used to, George Soros tried to crash the pound, the currency in the UK. Just look it up. He funds so many things, and they have their webs and everything. Les Wexner, a billionaire that created Victoria's Secret, that's potentially one of the head of one of the heads of the snake of this entire operation that runs not only the United States government but the world. I mean, I legitimately think this is a loose understanding of how things operate, how things get done. I've mentioned it before, how I think, the Democrat and Republican Party are just there to placate you, and they fight over minor issues that get everybody divided, but none of that is consequential. Like, they don't freaking really care about any of that. What's being pulled behind the strings is money. That's the most important thing to know, is money rules the world. The love of money is the root of all evil. There's nothing more true than that. Just watch how the world plays out. If you want to know how something works, follow the money. And Jeffrey Epstein was not necessarily a rich guy, but what he was intelligence, and him and Gasoline were basically just a couple. Now, I don't really think they were. I think that was, they played a couple and they were both agents. And I mean, they would go.
What were the agents of? The
intelligence to different world governments.
Okay.
And they would get information on all these people. And that's essentially what they would do, is they would, Jeffrey Epstein was considered like a money manager or something. I mean, it was just a load of crap. He didn't
arbitrary.
Yeah. I mean,
title.
he just had, a consultant is what he was to who, I don't know. But, and what he would do is, I mean, you've seen pictures with him and them two, Gasoline and Jeffrey, with Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, Donald Trump and his first wife, Melania, as well. And they would basically just connect with these people. And what was happening was, by the way, Les Wexner, the guy, the billionaire from Victoria's Secret, was, he really funded, he provided a lot of this funding to allow them to go do all this. And essentially why is because I believe they connected with all these powerful people in the world, or many of them, and compromised them through a child sex trafficking operation. They had an island, literally, pedophile island, Little St. James, and they would fly people to this island all the time. And there was trafficked children on the island, and they would do God knows what to them. I mean, I don't know. Ultimately, kill them. I mean, I don't know. That's pretty well verified. There's flight logs of who all has flown with Jeffrey Epstein, the private plane, the Lolita Express. Bill Clinton's named like 26 times flying personally with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, have you flown with anybody 26 times?
No.
That's a lot.
Yeah, you got to be a good close buddy to be doing that.
Yeah. I think Donald Trump's been everybody's savior, is listed on the flight logs. There's a dispute about that, because they haven't released the full flight logs and everything. But I mean, there's all kinds of pictures with them, so it wouldn't surprise me if he's involved with it. Because I know his first wife, what's her name? Ivana. I think his daughter's Ivanka. His wife Ivana was seen multiple times with Gasoline around this high school. I mean, that's essentially what they would do. How they would get these kids is they would basically pose as like modeling agencies. They would recruit these kids from high schools, middle schools, whatever, and essentially lure them in and get them to work, promising them all money and model whatever, and then just
enslave them.
Yeah, take them to the island, whatever. I also, another thing about all this child trafficking that happens, like with little kids, when, you see all these missing things if you go into, or, there's missing children stuff. And I always wonder how that happens and who that is and where they go and who is kidnapping all these children. I mean, I'm sure there's individuals out there who are sick people and do kidnap children, but I also think a lot of that is potentially operations like this. Large scale operations that have to funnel these kids into these powerful people, and essentially it was just a large blackmail operation. It was just a large blackmail operation where you would get these powerful people in these positions to where they would do something heinous, and then you have so much power over them.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can't. What do you do if you're that person? You can't say that talk or and
You're at the mercy
you're
of
beholden to these people. They control what you do. These politicians and these billionaires who throw money around, they have to listen to you now. And
where was this island at?
I actually don't know exactly where it's at. I don't know. It's called Little St. James, but it
So if we skip forward here, thank you for the context. If we skip forward, all this finally caught up to them. Well, they had old boy in prison, right?
And he killed himself. Yeah,
Epstein.
Yeah, they
killed himself.
Yeah, and
as if.
And he killed himself in prison. And
that's become a meme, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he didn't, but it's not like that should blow people's minds that they killed this dude so he can't talk. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they finally got gasoline. And they had
it's a show trial.
They had a trial for gasoline, right? But gasoline has all this dirt now on all these people.
Named nobody.
Yeah, why?
The trial was not televised. Nothing was released. And she got a few charges that will probably be appealed. And I mean,
who's trying her? The U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, the trial was like, her charges were so soft too. I mean, the totality of what this person has done, and she was on trial for sexually assaulting one person. I mean, it was like a few counts.
Yeah,
it was just so minor.
But essentially, all the dirt that she had on everyone. Well, obviously it's a mock trial because she would have given up all that dirt if she could have saved herself. But none of that information was shared.
No.
Is that not just mind-boggling? That level of evil exists on the earth.
Well, I mean, some of this, or all of this, really does frame my view. Like, when I say those things about the Democratic and Republican Party, people don't agree with me. They're like, no, I think you can make a difference in that system and everything. And I'm like, no, I don't, because that's who it's run by. And I could be wrong, of course. I mean, all this that I've said, it's not like I was there. But, I mean, that's what I think is happening. So that frames that opinion, that you worried about what is going on and thinking that there can be some kind of change made. It's like, man, once you enter that world of politics, oh buddy.
Well, I bet there were a lot of politicians that were really glad when
old Jeff died.
Old Jeff killed himself. I bet they took a sigh of relief, boy.
Yeah, I mean,
so, that to me was just, again, my very shallow understanding of that. Now, Chili has given even more context on it.
And I didn't do a good job, by the way. I mean,
I think there's a documentary on that Epstein guy on Netflix. I hadn't watched it, but
yeah, who knows who made that? Probably funded by the Bill and Hillary Foundation.
I wonder what Gasoline's going to do with the rest of her days.
Go sit in a mansion somewhere.
Yeah.
She ain't going to jail.
Who was she proclaimed to be? Like, what does she say she is?
She's just a philanthropist. She's got a lot of money, Her
One of them words that mean I do something but don't do nothing.
How many times do you hear that?
Well,
philanthropist.
She came from money, so she had some money, and she just was just a powerful figure, just good person. She a person who does a good job of explaining this and is a real journalist is Whitney Webb. That's her name. She's been canceled off all kinds of stuff, but it's a good, she's just reporting on things that she can report on. And, the trial, even if you think I'm a freaking nut, and none of that's true. Which, like I said, I don't know. I wasn't there, but you got to think the trial was weird. I mean, nobody's allowed. It's not televised. No media.
This is in a federal court.
No
too,
media.
right?
No media is allowed to enter the courtroom I mean,
A trial as small as that kid that shot them boys.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, a trial as
that
small
was
as that was
broadcasted.
so big. And here this lady is killing kids and who knows what else. And
she's literally got enough dirt on people to destroy the entire system.
If all of this came out, it would just collapse everything.
Well, the whole thing is all of it has gotten too big. Now, you think you fixed the country? America is no longer America. It is tied in with too many other nations. And so that's how I think. I think there's these, I don't know how many, but there's this people that run the whole world. And they have...
This is what I'm talking...
Yeah. Like, they have the representative of the United States. They have the representative of China. And this... I mean, that's the only thing that makes any sense.
And this is how it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in full agreement. I mean, that is pretty obvious.
It might sound crazy, but it makes a lot more sense to me than...
No, but you have to understand how that's carried out, too. And that's it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a book that I read that tells you ultimately that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Globalism.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's not a mystery.
I don't know why people didn't figure out where that island was and go freaking storm that dang thing.
Oh, you don't think? Dude,
look,
there's protection like you wouldn't believe.
It's like, it's even like this trial. It's like here we have a person that has enough dirt to tear down the entire infrastructure of this evil empire. And they just swept it under the rug.
Nobody cares. Yeah.
And so, but even me, I care. But it's like, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. That's why they're laughing at me.
Yeah.
That's why they're laughing at all of us. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to sweep this under the rug. What you going to do about it?
Yeah.
What you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, for some reason, I don't think people can believe that that's going on. Like, they can't believe it. No matter what you showed them, I mean, it could be right in front of their face, and they would go, there's no way that is happening.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I don't know. It's just not that evil is... You basically have to believe evil doesn't exist to believe that that's not happening or can't happen. I mean...
And so that is the one of the major issues when we ask ourselves why. So many people ask, why are these things happening? How could this even be real? How could this even be possible? They can't grasp it because they are not taking evil into account. Because if you recognize evil as a real, tangible force that's in play in society, if you recognize that, you got to do something with it, because if it is a real force that's influencing reality, there's something driving it, right?
Yeah.
So you always have to, as soon as you recognize that, you're going to have to go a step deeper in what you believe or understand about it. And so people choose to just not even recognize it as a force and say, well, my question to you is, what the crap else is driving people to live a life of such... What you can't call it anything else. Evil. What else is driving people to do this? This evil, this thing we're calling evil, this tangible force, obviously the Bible, much of the Bible is explaining to us the struggle between good and evil. And the Bible explains the driving force behind both of those influences on reality. All right? This is nothing new. This same evil that we're dealing with is ancient. It goes back to the very beginning of humanity. The driver behind all of this is Satan.
Yeah.
Right? And he entered the equation the equation of the human existence, right? In the beginning, he's been here, he's been present, he's been driving this. Evil is his agenda, essentially. Since the very beginning, this is nothing new. What's new, what is unique about it now is the global influence. That's what's so unique about it now. This evil that we're talking about that is driving the whole situation with gasoline in them, look, it's the same freaking force. It's the same influence. It's the same master that drove the evil that was propagated by Hitler and the Third Reich. It's the exact same thing. I mean, how many stories you can go back and read written accounts of people who were not Jews but lived in Germany during the Holocaust, and they were just like, well, we couldn't believe it was really happening.
Yeah.
It was happening all around them.
But then a lot of people took part in it.
Yeah.
Help round up the Jews. And that gets to my point. Do you know, a lot of people don't recognize or don't acknowledge evil because they haven't seen it. Essentially, they haven't experienced it. And I've seen evil and experienced evil. Chad's seen a heck of a lot more than me.
Yeah.
But you don't need to see what he's seen. You know what you want to have to do if you want to see evil. And I don't want to see it, but examine yourself. That's where you can find it.
Yeah.
Because everybody on this planet has that capability. I mean, you sin.
Yeah.
That's we all have that. And it's very uncomfortable to look at yourself and find the sin or find the evil. You're like, well, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It exists. And the main reason to do that is to recognize that, once coming back to it again, how can you have that in you and be so hopeless and so wretched that and save yourself? Are you going to save yourself from the evil that is found within you? Are you going to do it? Try. I mean,
you will eventually succumb to it.
Yeah, it's very important for so many reasons to recognize evil in the world, but how you do that is examine yourself. It's there. And that's why those people who you would have probably met in Germany, just the civilians, and said, oh, that's a good person. A lot of people say that and throw that word around, and I get why, and I do it too, but they're not. They're just like you and me. They're not good. They're not default good. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, I desire to do good now, but I'm not. It left to my own devices, I will sin over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And do. I mean, it's because of the evil within me, the sin within me. I just have to think that. I don't know. There's nothing else to explain it. And that's why those people were capable, those good people were capable of succumbing to that power that, the new buzzword is psychosis now, that kind of came over that society and rounded up other innocent people.
Yeah. And evil, evil because it is being driven by Satan. It's a very strategic force. This is not something that's just going to hit you and just overwhelm you overnight. It's a very strategic how it actually takes control of humans and to the point that the human is actually fully submitted to it. And I think evil plays a lot on emotions. It really does to work its way in. I made a post the other day and talking about ultimately what leads to what is the main goal of evil, right? And the post was, it starts with uncertainty. We all have to experience uncertainty in life because there's nothing uncertain in life. So we've all met that pre-qualification.
Or there's nothing certain?
Yeah, uncertainty, right? But what happens is this evil influence it will start to, because of uncertainty, it will start to provoke fear in your mind, right? And fear is just one more step down the path that evil wants to lead you along. Over time, someone who is living in fear generally becomes angry. Generally does, because the fear it's not a comfortable thing to live with, and you begin to become angry about the things you're fearful of, or toward the things you may be fearful of, right? Anger, when anger really matures, it becomes hate. Hate is like a fully matured anger. It's when the anger is actually, it fills you, right? And then you begin to have this deep-rooted feeling toward the world or whatever you were fearful of, and you begin to hate that thing. Hate actually, in my mind, especially in terms of the Third Reich and Hitler's Germany, hate was the fuel for the suffering that happened, right? So hate was the fuel for people to inflict suffering or death upon the things that they hated, right? So that hate has to exist for you to actually be able to go out and harm another person or kill another person or cause them to suffer intentionally. And I think the end goal of evil, Satan's agenda, we know Satan wants to what? Kill, steal, and destroy, right? The end goal of evil is suffering and death. That is what it is trying to accomplish. That is what Satan is trying to accomplish, to inundate the human race with suffering and death. He wants to kill you. Yep. He's a murderer. And if he can't kill you right off the bat, he just wants to see you suffering as a human.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is the ultimate end goal.
Well, and I think, there's more. It can be more than just hatred. In Hitler's case, that was the fuel. But in this whole island thing, the fuel, I think the fuel for that is power. If it's blackmail that they're after, then they're not harming those kids or anything because they hate the kids. There's a level. There's
can't get in their mind, but it's more just about power.
Yeah, and
money, influence.
I don't know that was Hitler's desire. He probably had that somewhere, but mostly
power?
Was.
Well, yeah.
Mostly it was but he wanted the power because he wanted to kill the Jews, right? Like the root was the hatred.
Getting in the mind of Hitler is obviously a scary place as well. I think it was, I think really you'd root it back to power too.
Yeah.
Well, but go a step. Trace, if you can think about what the human desire for power and control, that would probably in many cases start with fear and insecurity, right? I'm not, obviously we can't analyze the mind, but
it's a lust for power.
It could just be that in and of itself, but if I was to analyze my own mind, I would think, why would I want to be in control, or why would I want to be in power?
Ugh,
well, because
sounds terrible.
Because essentially, if you thought you were in control and you thought you were powerful enough to control people and things, what does that do? It eliminates your perceived fear, and it eliminates a lot of uncertainty.
No, you know what it does? It makes you like God. It makes you like God. It's that whisper in your ear that says, "Hey, if you can get this, you can control this world. If you can blackmail all these people, you can make whatever you want to make happen."
Well, that's
because you've got something on them, and it's that way from the beginning.
The example of the Garden of Eden is eat this fruit to become like God. It's what evil in the world stems from anything other than, wanting to be like God. I mean, that's a fantastic way to summarize it.
Yeah.
It really is.
And this is exactly what Satan tempted Jesus Christ himself with in the desert. It's exactly what he even, he leads him up to a high place and shows him the world and all the splendor, and he says, I will give this to you if you just bow down and worship me. That's what he's tempting Jesus. Satan is literally tempting Jesus Christ in human form.
That's hard to understand what that story, what that is saying, because how do you tempt God with something he already has?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, but it shows you the dynamic of Jesus when he was in a human body.
Well, it shows how he's going to tempt us.
Yeah.
With the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, it's not new. Been around since ancient days of old, son. It's just, like you said, Blake, the interesting thing about the influence of evil now is just how broad, how broad one source of evil can influence the entire globe in different ways.
Yeah. Well, it's all the tech stuff, I mean, that is able to get a message around the entire world at the snap of a finger. I mean, you can literally post something and people can read it all over. So imagine they get out whatever they want to get out,
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think, a lot of the questions people have when you present information or just talk about some of the things we talked about earlier with that basically cabal of people that run the world that are all pedophiles is, what's the agenda? Well, why do they want to do that? What's the overall goal? I mean, what is the, they're not going to live forever, or they're not going to do this and that. And I don't think you can explain the agenda behind it, because it doesn't really make any rational sense.
It's a spiritual agenda
without evil.
Yeah.
I don't think you could explain the agenda, because it's illogical.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they getting? What are they gaining? They're not, they just want to harm innocent children and kill people and do this and try to get power. Well, for what? They're going to die too, like everybody else.
Yeah.
And who's it for later on and all this? No, none of it makes any sense. If you try to make sense of it, it'll rack your brain. But all I can believe is that it's just carrying out an evil agenda that
there's a driving force behind it.
That they either don't even know, they haven't even cognitively realized that that's what they're doing. Maybe that's possible. Or they have and want to carry it out.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what these people like that are doing. They're knowingly or unknowingly, either way is not okay, carrying out an evil agenda. Essentially the most evil thing you can think of.
Well, the people that in this island example, the people flying to the island are pawns of Satan, and the main guy is the one the group who's ever
pulling the strings,
as we think, blackmailing and pulling the strings. He went to them first and said, "Hey, you can be like God."
Yeah, I mean,
and then he went to these other people and said, "Hey, fly over here to this island. It's going to be fun." And so it's a whole big strategy scheme. I don't know. Maybe people probably think we're freaking crazy, but that's what I believe in.
Well, most people that think you're crazy for saying any of this, even if you don't agree with every little detail, is they don't even know who these people are. I mean, don't tell me that this is nuts if you've never heard of, Gasoline and Jeffrey.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't even know who they are, I mean, maybe try to figure out as much information as you can about who they even are before you say this is nuts. I mean, they're not. Yeah.
Well, I mean, in the end, you got to recognize that it's able for people to carry this out if they can be manipulated in such a way that that whatever's driving them, Satan, becomes more powerful than the good in their mind. I mean, that's what it is. The balance gets flipped, and Satan is way up here. They've still got some good in them somewhere. I mean, maybe. I don't know. But they're either filled to the top or...
It's interesting to me when you think about the spiritual dynamic of what's driving everything. First of all, I agree with you. You must take what the Bible tells you about us and about reality. You must take the logic there to have any explanation for any of this. It's the only explanation I can come up with. I have no other theories other than what the Bible says, right? But it's interesting that you have God and you have God the Father, and then you have Satan. And it's interesting that the way this was all created, those two spiritual powers, for some reason, must use humans to carry out their agenda on earth. It's you know, like Satan cannot reach his end goal without the use of humans. Yeah. I don't know why it was created that way. But likewise, God, it's like they are outside the realm of time and what we experience in reality, yet they still have to operate within the natural confines that we
that's
are
all
a part of.
That's all we know.
That's all we know. But for the world, for this age to end, as the Bible says it will end, it is Satan utilizing human beings to bring it to that end the entire time, even all the way through to the Antichrist. The Antichrist is essentially, my understanding is it's almost like the same concept of God and Jesus, but it's Satan and the Antichrist, right? This is what Satan tries to do. His entire agenda, he perverts the concepts of God.
Yeah.
That's what he does. So,
yeah, I mean, that's it. And you think Satan existed before humans.
Yeah.
When he...
That's hard to understand.
Fell like lightning down to hell. And then it's almost like Earth and humans are the playing fields and the players. You know, it's like when America goes to war against whatever, Iraq, and they have to have grounds to fight on, and they have to have people to fight to accomplish whoever's going to win. And I mean, lucky for us, in the end, we know how it's going to turn out. But I mean, you know, I don't know. It's a food for thought.
Yeah, well, me and Chad have talked about basically how was Satan, and he wasn't the only one that the Bible says was there, essentially, before we were created. The timeline's so weird because God doesn't operate in our time. But like, who is that? I mean, I even connected it to, I mean, this is not right, so I probably should even say this, but like, you know, when it says there's going to be a new heaven and new earth, like, what is that even getting at? Like it's like a new earth for who? Us? I mean, I don't know, like, who that's even for. It's like, what is it? Is it just going to play out again and again and again? The world? I mean, that's not right, but it's just the wild stuff, man. I don't know.
I think a lot of that stuff that people try to solve and figure out is put in the Bible. I mean, in my opinion, one reason can be to spur thought like this, so then you start discussing it and thinking on it deeper, and you realize the complexity and grandeur of the spiritual world. When you start, like that, we're talking about this here, I feel like I'm not even on earth anymore. As deep as we've talked about this, I feel like we are almost existing in there because we're talking so deep about it. You know, you can kind of start to see things differently. And so maybe the things that are in there are there just to spur thought so that you can understand. You're not going to understand, but so that you can realize the complexity of the spiritual realm.
Can you imagine trying to this is what happens with the Bible. You have a being that literally created you, literally created time, literally created everything that you can comprehend. He created it. He designed it. And he is trying to explain something about himself and his plan to you. It would be like you trying to explain the complexity of the human existence to a freaking insect.
Yeah.
That's why there are things in the Bible that you can't grasp the fullness of. Yeah. It is God loved you enough to say, I'm going to try to explain to you at least a little bit of what I can tell you about myself and about what my plan is for you.
Yep.
But that's about as far as I can take it, buddy.
And that's all he gave us the ability to comprehend too. I mean, he could have created us with the ability to understand it all, but for some reason he did it, and that gets into the question I've had a while is how knowable is God? I mean,
really?
To what degree is he knowable? To what degree? To what extent? I mean, I don't have any idea where to put that line because you're like, well, I know this,
you know the degree,
and I know this. You're like, I know this, and I know this, but like even that, what do you know? I mean,
beyond the words of this book, beyond what you can comprehend in the words of this book, you cannot know him anything beyond that.
Well, there's things you can't comprehend what's written in that. And people,
there are aspects of it that you cannot fully comprehend.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Where the heck is the line? Yeah. It's like, to what?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The things that are in there, a lot of people will get hung up on trying to figure out those things and not focus on what. To me, the important part is just how can I be a better person and carry out this mission that we're here to do? Those are to me the most valuable things in the book because that's just trusting that God everything's going to be taken care of. You just focus on the mission and get it done. That to me, that's the important things. But people will get hung up in, for example, the new earth being created and what's that going to look like, and that's why I think that. Maybe
that's silly just to get.
But maybe that stuff's there, like I said, just to spur thoughts so that you can. So if that wasn't in there, you wouldn't think deeper about the spiritual realm, and you wouldn't think deeper about what's going to happen afterwards. And so I think it should show us that it's bigger than us, that we can't comprehend it, and to see the complexity of it, and should point you to your need for God. You say, "Crap, this is in here, and I can't understand it."
There are also parts of Scripture that I think are written in a way that will only be fully understood by the people that are experiencing or living in the time that Scripture or that prophecy was written for.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another aspect. One thing that I can understand is how it all ends. That's one thing that I can understand.
And how you can be a part of it.
Yeah, I can understand the close. One of many things.
Yeah.
But one thing that I understand is the closing of this age. And let me remind you how it ends right here. Let me just, hold on. Let me just remind you guys how it ends. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. A righteous trial He doth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name was called the Word of God. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he should rule them with a rod of iron. And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. I want you to try to comprehend today, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. I want you to comprehend, I want you to think about one day when it's all over for you, you're going to receive a crown for the good things that you did in life. And then you're going to meet the King, and you are going to take your crown off your head and you are going to cast it at his throne, at his feet, because you realize that your righteousness is as filthy rags, and you are going to meet the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the only righteous judge in the entire equation. And let me tell you, I want to be one of those riding behind him on a white horse, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And I know how to get to that point.
Yeah.
It's a free gift. You can be there with him when it all closes. I truly believe this.
Yeah.
I truly believe. As a matter of fact, I believe so strongly, I actually know this is how it ends.
Yeah.
It must end that way. So, just wanted to remind y'all how it ends. Chili killed his first deer. We'll talk about it on the next podcast. It's pretty epic. Nuff said.